Hi, it's Mike Whitehead from Peak Wellbeing on session 3 of our learning resource. Now you remember from the last session that we spoke about the subconscious consequences of the brain receiving messages from injured tissue and how the brain's response can actually become a source of aggravation of the pain state itself. So just to take this a little bit further, the result of the brain's strategic response can not only have an impact on our physical status and function, but it can also extend to having an impact on our mental health and well-being, as well as on our ability to engage in normal social relationships with our friends and family. We'll touch on this a little bit later on in this session. So when we subconsciously react to pain with an appropriate outward response, this may impact on our ability to function in our normal patterns of movement, which are affected by changes in muscle activity levels. And if we're not vigilant here, then these patterns can become default patterns of choice for the brain and can affect normal function for a longer period of time. And this is exactly where physiotherapy assessment and guided exercise can really help to identify altered patterns and assist in the re-establishment of normal patterns. So how else does the brain get involved in responding to the incoming data? Well, this can depend on so many factors, but I like to separate them into two categories: those that amplify the messages received and amplify the response, and those that pacify the messages received and pacify the response. Our past experiences of pain here play a really important part in how we respond. For example, if we had a similar pain experience or injury in the past, then our reaction would be very different to if we experienced the pain or injury for the first time, as we may remember the implications of the injury and how it affected us. The response may be subjected to a pain memory or a memory of what implications the pain had at the time. On another level, our knowledge and understanding of pain will increase or decrease the strength of the response. For example, if we know somebody who's had a serious medical condition which started with a similar pain, then this may increase the strength of the response. Now, it's well known that anxiety and fear will amplify our experience of pain and our brain response to pain, whether that be anxiety related to a particular injury episode or an anxiety or depressive disorder itself. Paradoxically, pain states can also make anxiety worse, as often we feel out of control. Imagine this situation. If I crept up behind you and shouted, "Boo!" what would you do? I would predict that you'd prepare for fight or flight by tensing up and jumping. Now, this is a strong response to anxiety, accompanied by a rapid increase in muscle tone. And as we said before, increased muscle tone could indeed be a source of pain itself. And that's because an anxious, tight muscle doesn't easily get a free flow of nutrients to the muscle or freely flush the products of muscle metabolism away. So the muscle creates a toxic environment and becomes a source of pain itself. Now, mild levels of fear or anxiety about an injury or stressful situation can have a similar, longer-term effect with painful consequences. If you're fearful that your knee may give way when you step down a step, you'll do everything to avoid the feared activity. This behaviour may result in a significant weakness in the knee. And the sooner we can reduce the fear avoidance behaviour, the sooner we'll begin to trust the knee and build a strong and stabilising muscular system. The language used or stories told by other people can create anxiety or fear, and the brain becomes more sensitive to pain, which amplifies the response. For example, if you've been told that you may end up in a wheelchair as a result of your back pain, you may get very anxious about moving. Now, rarely would this likely be the case, that you'd end up in the state. But our interpretation of the story or language makes us react in a certain way. A lack of certain movement would prevent you stirring the gravy and restoring normal activity. Now, the great news is that for every amplifier, there's also a pacifier. Now, before we said that knowledge and education can help put pain into context, believe it or not, watching and listening to this information can have a beneficial impact on your pain. Your understanding allows you to put the pain into context of normal processes over biologically determined timescales. The knowledge allows you to manage your expectations in a timely manner. If we understand about the wider implications of pain in terms of the psychological well-being or its impact on our normal relationships, as well as our physical capabilities, then we can appreciate the ways in which we need to address our recovery. In the next session, we'll discuss how the brain forms patterns of activity to influence our experience of pain, and how these patterns can become persistent even when the injury is healed. And we'll then look at ways in which we can alter these patterns to benefit our function. Once again, these sessions cover general principles and are not intended as a substitute for an individual consultation from a suitably qualified professional. If you'd like to discuss anything, you can also book in for an individual video consultation via our online booking form on our website. Do give us a like or a share if you like what you hear, or contact me directly with any further questions about any of the issues raised. I think that's about it for this session, so we'll hopefully catch you next time.